If you had to make the decision right now who would start for the Browns this Sunday against the Bengals, who would you pick? Watson or Winston? Let me know in the comment section below while the intro rolls. We are officially living in hell. This is Groundhog Day. Every single Monday, I'm having the same conversation with you guys about whether or not the Browns should bench Deshaun Watson. Except the only thing that changes is the group of people that want to bench Watson grow every single week. And I'm at the point where I can understand and sympathize because we're watching the same offensive performance every single week. And whether or not you want to pin it all on Watson or not, we at least would like to see something different. Because Watson, sure, had a really good second half, 11 of 12, over 100 yards. But it's the same offensive performance where we just feel like there is nothing to be excited about. It's not even like the offense is so bad that they have downfield passes that result in interceptions. Like, for as bad as Watson has been, the guy's only thrown one interception in his last 5 games. It's just that they only go for 3 to 4 yards every single play, and then it's a quick punt or a penalty that sets them back that they cannot recover from whatsoever. The offense, in my opinion, it just looks lifeless. It looks like everyone is out there just somewhat running like in slow motion, or it's a walkthrough, but it's Sunday, right? Like, there doesn't seem to be any level of spark. There doesn't seem to be any level of excitement. Everyone on the field looks like they're miserable and they hate their jobs and they hate playing football. No one's having fun. And if they're not having fun, we're definitely not having fun. So, should the Browns bench Deshaun Watson? I'm at the point where how can you not try and find something different offensively? We are the definition of insanity. We keep replaying the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I also think at this point, the season is over. You are at 1-5. I mean, think about it this way. If you were to win out 12-5, sweet, obviously you're in the playoffs. But you would now only afford yourself an opportunity to lose probably 2 games. We saw 9-8 miss the playoffs last year for the Indianapolis Colts. So I don't think you can bank on 9 wins getting you in. You're going to need 10, which means you only give yourself a margin of error of 2 losses. And if you look at the upcoming opponents here for the Browns, they got the Bengals this week at home, which Cincinnati, I think, at 2-4, you are what your record says you are, but they at least took the Bengals to overtime. God forbid the Browns even had to be a close game for half of their games. And then look after this, the Chargers. They're going to be a mean physical football team. The Saints, they're going to put up points. Browns can't put up points. That's probably going to be a loss. Don't even want to talk about the Steelers. Broncos, that might be a winnable game with the way they played on Sunday against the Chargers. The Chiefs, God no. Dolphins, I mean, this is not an easy schedule for the Browns. And we knew that going into the year. But the thing that was going to kind of balance it out was, well, the Browns were so injury-plagued last year. They'll be healthy this year. And that'll kind of level the waters a little bit. Nope. They are just as injured, it feels like, as last year. But they still have a very difficult schedule. So I'm at this stage right now where you have a couple of options. Option A, and I saw Mary Kay talk about this after the game on Sunday. Learn what you have in Watson. Learn what we have in Watson? He has been on the Browns for 3 years. He has started every single game this year. If the decision makers and the coaching staff in Cleveland through 3 seasons do not know what they have in Watson, and they need to play out the rest of the year just so they can have more information, they are bad decision makers. They should be fired if after 3 years their response is, we need more time to learn what we have in Watson. That is fireable. This is their job. They are football coaches. At its core, they have to know which players are good and which players are bad. That's what coaches do, right? They get the good players out there, and then they coach them all up. At 3 years in the making, if you don't know what you have in your starting quarterback, you do not have the proper coaching staff. So I'm not interested in learning what the Browns have in Watson. We also have to acknowledge that the Browns are being run by an Ivy League crew, right? We know this by now. Barry at Harvard, Kevin Stefanski at Penn. What do Ivy League guys love? Analytics. What does analytics rely on? Sample size. And my guess is Andrew Berry and maybe Kevin Stefanski, although I don't know if Stefanski's just a hostage or if he truly is all in on this, probably feel like we don't have a big enough sample size this year to make an informed decision on Watson. And unfortunately, their sample size is probably going to be need to be so large that we're going to see Watson and this offense, and it's mostly just the offense that I'm frustrated about, which Watson as the quarterback is the leader of, but no one is saved from the offense, because what I don't like to see is people put all the blame on Watson as if the other guys are not responsible. Oh no, Zach Zinter, false start. Jed Wills, false start. That's the game right there. Watson at least got him in a position to make a touchdown and tie the game. So the sample size is probably not big enough for the Ivy League guys running this team to decide, okay, Watson is the issue. We need to bench him. So that's option A. Option B, and this is the option I would like to pursue. If we want to talk about being scientists here, make Deshaun Watson your independent variable. You are at 1-5. This season is going nowhere. You are not going to the playoffs. There, I said it. We're all thinking it, right? The Browns are not making the 2024 NFL playoffs. Poof. So sorry to ruin everyone's hopes and dreams this year. But we've known this for a little while now. I would like to see Watson be the independent variable where, like a true science experiment, if you remove Watson and you put in Winston and you keep everything else the same, does the offense regress, stay the same, or improve? If it regresses or stays the same, well, then you know Watson wasn't really the issue with the entire offense. If it improves, then you know Watson was the issue. But what I want to learn is Kevin Stefanski equally at fault, or is Kevin Stefanski being dragged down by Deshaun Watson, who holds on to the ball for too long and has one too many of examples of missing players, which, listen, I somewhat feel for Watson because he has a receiving core that is leading the NFL in drops and an offensive line that is leading the NFL in pressures allowed. And there are things that the coaching staff and Watson can do to help minimize those impacts. But when people compare Watson to like quarterbacks of the past for Cleveland, or you're seeing a lot of like ESPN nerds come out with like Watson since 2007 ranks 558th in EPA per attempt, whatever the hell that means. Does that factor in the drops by Amari Cooper or the turnstile of the offensive line or the false starts in goal to go inside the 5-yard line? My guess is probably not. But whenever we see those big analytics numbers, we just got to take it at face value because we don't know what's really going on there, right? We just have to believe it's true, but we have no idea how those numbers are calculated. They're just spit out, and we just go, well, we don't want to be towards the bottom of this, so clearly that's not good. But at this point, I'm at the belief of you have to try something different. You have to see if you bench Watson, can the offense improve? Can you at least get more than 20 points in a game? And if you learn, nope, then you probably are going to go back to Watson. But the Browns, in my gut, will do this. They will continue to start Deshaun Watson because they probably feel like through 6 games that the sample size is not large enough to decide he is the issue, that the drops and the pressures allowed are not going to allow any quarterback in this offense to be successful. So benching your $230 million quarterback is not going to yield positive results if the drops in the offensive line do not improve. And then you have a tough time convincing your owner we need to bench Deshaun Watson, but we don't even think that's going to improve the offense because there are so many other issues, but we just want to try it just for the sake of trying it. I don't think Haslam's going to be on board with that idea. And I don't really fault him for that because he has been, listen, maybe not the best owner, but he has been one thing, a rich owner. And I at least respect and admire the fact that he is willing to spend on this team. Because look at the A's, look at the Pirates, look at so many other teams that refuse to spend money. It's at least reassuring to go, all right, well, here you got an owner that if you submit a proposal, they are going to green light it. So my gut tells me the Browns are not going to bench Watson. They are going to stick it out for a little bit longer, if not the whole year. And then after the season is over, which right now is kind of shaping up for we'll go 4 to 6 win season. Maybe 7 if we're feeling frisky. But probably 4 to 6 wins, right? I think that's kind of in the ballpark. I think they can win 2 to 3 more games. That gets into 4 wins. Maybe sneak another in 5. And then they're probably going to do a little bit of a reset where they're going to move on from some older players. They're probably going to dump half of their offensive line, if not almost all of it. Maybe keep Ethan Posick for the final year of his contract. If Jack Conklin plays well the rest of the year, hold on to him. Probably move on from Teller and or Petonio just because of age and contract. And Jed Wills, he's an $11 million left tackle next season. We'll see what happens there. And then defensively, try and get some youth on the defensive line, right? Hopefully Mike Hall can emerge the rest of the year. Have him, Garrett, Tomlinson, and Smith, who will be on the final year of his contract, be your D-line. And go to the draft and finally have a first-round draft pick and try and find a true impact player, because the Browns have not drafted really any impact players on offense since Andrew Berry took over. There's only one starter from Andrew Berry's entire draft tenure on offense, Jed Wills. Defensively, Greg Newsome, Martin Emerson, Del Pitt. It's been a little while. Nothing for the last 2 years or so. So if you want my honest opinion of what I would like them to do, I would like them to try something different, because we know this offense is not working. But what do I think the Browns are going to do, which are two different things? I don't think they're going to change anything. I think they want, like I said, a bigger sample size, and they are going to have a tough time explaining to Haslam, we would like to bench Deshaun Watson, although we don't think the offense is going to improve with Jameis because there are so many other issues. We still want to try it for the sake of trying it. I don't know what owner would agree to that if they spent $230 million on a quarterback that the brain trust of the guys proposing benching the quarterback wanted to go pursue. We're going to talk about Jameis and more in just a moment here, but I do want to give a quick shout out to, I almost forgot. If we can get to 38,000 subscribers by the end of the week, I'm going to write a letter to Berea, Ohio. I love writing letters. We're going to send it right to the Browns front office and their entire coaching staff and everyone making decisions, and demand change. We're going to demand Jameis Winston starts for the sake of trying something else, because right now this ain't working. So if you want to be a part of that letter, I'll write your name on the letter. It'll be a nice little petition we have going here. Help us reach 38,000 subscribers. Hit that sub button. Let me know if you want to be on the letter. And if we get to 38K by the end of the week, we are sending a letter to the what's it called, campus, cross mortgage campus, whatever the hell it's called, in Berea, Ohio. All right, that's going to do it for us for the first half of the show. But I do want to tell everyone watching about our terrific sponsor, Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I just saw a picture of someone on Twitter who went to a Dodgers game, and there was a huge pole in between the two seats, and so the boyfriend and the girlfriend were separated by like 10 feet. You know how you can avoid that? With Game Time, you can get a bird's eye view of your seat so you don't run into an issue like that. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. As much as we would like to see Winston start for either two reasons, you think Watson sucks, or you're more like in my camp of we just need to try something else, I've got bad news. I don't think Jameis is going to be as good as people think or hope he will be. And that's a really crappy thing for me to say right now, because we're hoping that with someone else at quarterback, it could be better. But I think it is worth acknowledging that Jameis, who had a starting gig with the Bucs, went to the Saints to be a backup, had a starting gig with New Orleans, then unfortunately tears his ACL, comes back from that injury, and still did not have the starting job awaiting for him, is probably what he is at this point, which is a backup. And what do backups do? You hope they go 500, which for the Browns would be an all-time blessing, don't get me wrong. But that's what you want your backup to do for a good team. In my opinion, if they go to Winston, there is probably a 95% chance we will see Watson go back and start at some point. I feel like Winston, now that Watson has done a good job with it's almost like a Mario Kart game. Like Watson, if he gets behind one banana, the race is over. But for all the things that have been thrown at Watson, he has not, unfortunately, done a very good job of overcoming those things. But I don't think Winston's going to do any better of a job either. So, listen, I'm at the point as well where we can bicker and fight over who should start at quarterback. The quiet part is it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter because it's not like either quarterback is going to save this season. So, short term, start Winston. Okay. If you want to start Winston because you want the Browns to save their season, bad news for you. That ain't going to happen. If you want to start Winston because you want to see what you have long term, bad news for you. Neither guy is probably the long-term answer anyway. So we're somewhat at a point where it's like what I've compared to the Patriots last year. Do you bench Mac Jones for Bailey Zappi? Look where we are right now if you're New England. Did it matter? Not really. Now, if you're thinking long-term for Watson here are the cap hits. $72.9 million next year, $72.9 million in 2026, and then a $26.9 million year in 2027. This is a void year, so it's like a fake year added to his contract. He's not on the team in 2027, but he's still on their books for 2027. That way they can spread the cap hit out over more seasons. So this was a plan. If you were to extend Deshaun Watson, you could then spread that cap hit more. Obviously, Watson is nowhere near getting a contract extension. Now, if the Browns were to move on from Watson, the thing that would make the most sense is a post-June 1 release. It's still ugly for 2025. $118.9 million. We're looking at about 28% of your salary cap. Yeah, maybe 30% of your salary cap going to a guy not on your team. Like 30% of your pie to someone who is on his couch. And then 53 in 2026 is manageable. Now, if you were to hold on for Watson for another year, 2025, and then move on from him in 2026, which we're looking way down the line here, this is doable. Like, the Broncos picked up an $85 million dead cap hit for Russell Wilson. This would be 72.9 in 2026, and then 26.9 in 2027. That's not really a lot. So you can make do with this, but this is only if you hold on to Watson for another year, all of 2025. I don't know what you do. I don't have the answer because I'm not salary cap savvy enough to really look for some loopholes and to find some creative ways. Either way, you're probably screwed if the plan is to move on from Watson after this year. So maybe you hold on to him and you make him the world's most expensive backup if you want to go draft a rookie, because right now the Browns hold the second pick in the NFL draft. Obviously, this is going to change as we have a lot of football to be played, but they are definitely on path to be at least a top 5 draft pick. Can we all agree on that? I mean, unless they were to pull off a miracle run here, or not even a miracle run, just pull off like 500 football the rest of the way, they are going to be a lock for the top 10, which we saw. How many quarterbacks go top 10 this year? 4 quarterbacks. We saw Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and then Michael Penix, and J.J. McCarthy went 10 or 11. I don't remember. But if you want to draft a quarterback, you're definitely on a path to do that right now. Personally, I'd rather go get an offensive tackle. I feel like so many of the issues this year not have only been on the offensive line, but a lot of the problems could have been avoided if the offensive line was playing better. So I want to go get that Texas left tackle, Banks, the LSU tackle, go get a real offensive tackle, reset at that position, because Jed Wills ain't it long term, and Jack Conklin is not going to be here forever. So I'd rather see the Browns draft a tackle in round 1, build up in the trenches, and go after like Arch Manning in 2026. Although knowing the Manning family, like I would not be surprised if Deion Sanders refuses to let Shedeur play for Cleveland, or I don't know who Arch's dad is, but Peyton and Eli. Is it Cooper? Is that Cooper's son? I think it's Cooper's son. Yeah. If Cooper and Eli and Peyton were like, you're not going to go to Cleveland. So we'll see. But that's way down the road. All right, before we get on out of here, I do want to show some love for as bad it has been so far this year to some very loyal viewers and supporters of the channel. Tim Green, Mike Dibble, Jeremy Stallman, Slow But Sure, David Botner, Jared Brandt, James Harper, Papa T, Joseph DePorte, Mike, Ray Bidding, Dr. No, Eli Green, John Porter, Scorpion, Max T, Drunken Honky. Thank you guys so much for being loyal supporters and viewers of the channel. If you want to get added to the club to get shout-outs for the rest of the season, $50 super chat, and we'll add your name to the crew.